Hi guys, let me tell you a short story. On a certain afternoon, I had just 10 spoonful of rice and one fish for my lunch. But then before I knew it, my brother came and told me, Godwin, I don't have enough food to eat. Okay, would you mind to spare me some of your rice? And I'm like, okay, so let's make a deal. You give me the only fish that is on your rice, and I'm going to give you 6 spoonful of rice from mine. And he says, okay, I'm agreed to the deal. So now I have 2 fish on my food and 4 spoonful of rice. Afterwards, my sister came and said, Godwin, my food is not enough for me. Could you mind sparing me some of yours? And I'm like, oh, fine. Only if you can give me the only fish on your food, I'm going to give you 2 spoonful of rice from mine. Then she grumbles. But I told her, okay, that's the deal. It's either you want it or you leave it. But then after grumbling, she agrees. Now, the point is, why did I offer my brother 6 spoonful of rice for one fish, and then I offered my sister 2 spoonful of rice for the same amount of fish? Why? Is that something that we could explain in the context of utility and indifference curves? Let's see. My name is Oluwole Godwin, and welcome to Economics. Let's see. My name is Oluwole Godwin, and welcome to Economics. Today we shall be talking about utility and indifference curves. Now, what is utility? Utility is simply the satisfaction that a consumer derives from consuming a commodity. So it's as simple as that. I want you guys to note that utility is not usefulness. As far as economics is concerned, utility is satisfaction. Then we go into our indifference curves. But then, what do we mean when we say an individual is indifferent? Okay, we say an individual is indifferent when he or she does not mind what the alternatives are before him or her. It's as simple as that. Okay, your friend asked you for a pen and you said, I have a blue pen and a black pen. Which one do you want? And your friend is like, just give me any one. So if your friend is saying just give me any one, it simply means your friend is indifferent between having a blue pen and having a black pen. So what is an indifference curve? An indifference curve is a locus of points that contains different combinations of 2 goods that yield the same amount of satisfaction to a consumer. Once again, an indifference curve is a locus of points that contains different combinations of 2 goods, just 2 goods, that yield the same satisfaction to a consumer. Now, that is grammar. You may agree with me. Okay, so what does it mean in the layman's language? An indifference curve is a curve that combines different combinations, like it touches different points on a graph of 2 different commodities that gives a consumer the same amount of satisfaction. Okay, so it could be that a consumer likes 2 loaves of bread and maybe 3 cheese. Okay, it may be that the consumer likes 1 loaf of bread and 4 bottles of cheese, and so on and so forth. So these combinations are different, but they yield the same amount of satisfaction to a consumer. Now I want you guys to know that this varies from one consumer to another consumer. So what I consider indifferent is not what you may likely consider indifferent. Okay, that's that about that. So now let's move into properties of an indifference curve. Now I've drawn 2 indifference curves here. Okay, so these are good x1 and these are good x2. First, what do we note? An indifference curve, the I1, an indifference curve is downward sloping. Okay, it's downward, so which means more of one leads to less of the other. Okay, so if you want more of x2, then that means you need to have less of x1, and if you want more of x1, you need to have less of x2, as far as the amount of satisfaction that you derive from them is the same. From the combination of the 2 is the same. Okay, so what else do we observe? We also observe that this line is convex to the origin. So this is what you call a convex shape, something that is like this, convex to the origin. Okay, the other one that might be confusing students is concave, and that's just the shape of a pregnant woman. Okay, so you have the baby being caved in. Alright, so this shape like this is concave, but what we have here is convex to the origin. This is the origin, so it is backing the origin. So this is convex to the origin. What else do we note? We also see that okay, an indifference curve that or a map that shows 2 or more indifference curve is called an indifference map. Again, a graph. Okay, I meant a graph. A graph that shows 2 or more indifference curves is called an indifference map. So that's another property. Okay, what other property do we have? The more the indifference goes to the right, the better the satisfaction that a consumer derives. Okay, so in this case, look at point A. This is point A on I1, I1. So point A, at point A, these are the coordinates. So 1 is for x1 and 10 is for x2. So our consumer is consuming a unit of x1 and 10 units of x2, okay, at point A. Then we have another indifference curve here. So the same point A, we trace it out to this point. So what then do we have? We discover that this individual now consumes 2 of these of x1 and then 10 of x2. So that means our consumer is consuming more of x1 without reducing the consumption of x2, and in this case the consumer is better off. So the consumer is better at this point than at this point. One other thing I want you to note is that every point on an indifference curve yields the same amount of satisfaction, whether it is point A here, whether you have another point here, whether you have another point here, and so on and so forth. All of them, as long as they are on the same line, they yield the same amount of satisfaction. Okay, and point C here is better than any one of them here. Okay, so that's that about that. Now, what else? The slope of an indifference curve is called marginal rate of substitution. Okay, so this is a slope here. So you can just measure this. Okay, so difference between this and this. All right, so marginal rate of the answer, whatever answer we get, is our marginal rate of substitution. All right, and the answer is going to be negative because this curve is downward sloping. Okay, so what else do we have? We also talk about transitivity. Okay, in this sense, we say that indifference curves do not intersect. Indifference curves do not intersect. If they do, that means they are disobeying the law of transitivity. Now, what does transitivity mean? Transitivity is all about a consumer preferring good A to good B, and then preferring good B to good C. So if that is the case, then definitely our consumer must prefer good A to good C. Okay, let's assume you don't understand that yet. A consumer likes 3 goods: cheese, milk, and suya. Okay, our consumer prefers consuming cheese to consuming milk. Yes, so our consumer prefers cheese to milk. Okay, and then our consumer also prefers milk to consuming suya. Okay, in that case, we can as well just conclude that our consumer prefers consuming cheese. Okay, he prefers cheese to suya. Okay, so our consumers prefers cheese to suya. Okay. If our consumer does not follow that logic, then we assume that it is irrational. Okay, so why would you prefer cheese to milk, milk to suya, and then prefer suya to cheese? Okay, so that's not really making too much sense. Okay, it just means we don't seem to have we seem to be indecisive. Okay, then how do we represent that on an indifference curve? So we have this is our indifference curve. Then we have another one like this. Okay, so this is good x2 and this is good x1. So origin 0. Now this is the first one, indifference curve I1, and this is I2. Okay, one of the assumptions of indifference, one of the properties of indifference curve is that more is preferred to less. Okay, so at this particular point, we have indifference curve I2 being preferred to I1 because at I2, our consumer will be able to consume either more of one good and the same quantity of the other good, or he may be consuming more of the 2 goods at the same time. Alright, so I2 is better than I1. Now we get here, and then we get here again. So we now have indifference curve I1 being preferred to indifference curve I2. So it simply means, what are we saying? We may be talking as if we are a confused person. Okay, so why would you prefer I2 to I1? Okay, and then come here to prefer I1 to I2. So if indifference curves are like this, we say they've disobeyed the law of transitivity. But luckily for us, these are the way we usually have our indifference curves. They are not always like this, but this is how we usually have our indifference curves. Okay, so good. Now we want to move into something that I told you the story about. So we want to move into it now and see how far we may go. There is something about the slope of an indifference curve, and that is the fact that it decreases as you move along the indifference curve from left to right. Okay, so now going back to the initial story that I told you, initially I started with 10 spoonful of rice and just one fish. So we have our good x1 being fish, then our good x2 being spoonful of rice, okay, going back to the story I told at the beginning of this video, going back to the story I told you at the beginning of this video, okay, so we have good x1 being fish and good x2 being spoonful of rice. So I started with 10 spoonful of rice and just one fish. My brother comes and says what he said, and then I have 4 spoonful of rice and then 2 fish, because we did an exchange. I gave him 6 spoonful of rice, okay, to add to what he already I gave him 6 spoonful of rice to add to what he already has, okay, and then I got 1 fish in exchange. Okay, then my sister comes and I'm offering her 2 spoonful of rice, okay, 4 minus 2, that is 2, for 1 fish. Why did I do that? I'm doing that because I had 10 spoonful of rice before, which is far higher than 4. Okay, so I could afford to exchange 6 for 1 fish. But then I already have less here, okay, which is 4. And 4 is way lesser than 10. In this case, do you think I'm going to offer 6 again? No. Of course, I'm going to be offering a lower value than 4 because I already have less of this. So I'm going to give out less of the 4 that I already have. Here I had a lot. I had 10. I could give out 6. But here I now have I now have just 4. Okay, so this is way lesser than 10. I have just 4, and I can't do the kind of exchange that I did the former time. So I'll be willing to give up less of my rice in order to get an additional fish. So that is exactly what is happening here. Okay, so by the time we now calculate the slope, so our MRS at this point, our MRS is the slope. So we have x2 here and we have x1 here. So that which is change in x2 over change in x1. So our MRS, which is the marginal rate of substitution, now is, what is the change in x2? This was the old value, and this is the new value. Okay, this was the old value as well, and this is the new value. So we have new minus O. So here we have 4 minus 10 divided by 2 minus 1, which is minus 6 over 1. Okay, so that is our answer, minus 6 over 1. That is the MRS at this point when I'm moving from point A to point B. Now let's see what happens when I start to move from point B to point C. Okay, so this is going to be the old value now, old, and this is going to be our new value. Okay, new. Okay, this happens to be the old value now. This is our old value, and this is the new value. Good. So we have new. Okay, so MRS now. MRS. Let me call it base 2. Okay, subscript 2, subscript 1. Okay, equals I have 2 minus 4 divided by 3 minus 2. So this is minus 2 divided by 1, which is minus 2 and minus 6. So what do we see? What do we discover? We will be talking absolutely now. So this is like a 2, which is lesser than 6. Okay, and in this case, what is the interpretation of our answer? The interpretation of our answer simply means that this consumer is willing to give up a unit of commodity X1 in order to enjoy 6 units of commodity X2. Or the other way around, this consumer is willing to give up 6 units of commodity X2 in order to enjoy 1 unit of commodity X1. Okay, so by the time we get here, for the same X1, okay, for the same X1, which is the fish, for the same quantity of fish, okay, this consumer is now willing to give up just 2 spoonfuls of rice in order to get 1 additional fish, okay, which is different from what we have there. Now, that is the reason why we say that the marginal rate of substitution reduces when you move along the indifference curve from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Alright, upon further calculations, the MRS becomes, the MRS is also expressed, the MRS between x1, x2, okay, let me write this clearly. MRS between x1, x2 is also expressed as the marginal utility of good x1 divided by marginal utility of good x2. Okay, x subscript 2, x subscript 1. Okay, and our answer is going to be negative, as we've seen from there, which is, so all, when you see all of these things, they are the same. So you have change in x2 over change in x1. Okay, there's a way to prove this, but we are not talking about that now. So just know that the marginal rate of substitution between two goods is expressed this way. Okay, it's the ratio of the marginal utilities, mu x1, mu x2 equals change in x2, what we have here, divided by change in x1. We want to discuss a related concept to this, okay, because we want to discover at what point a consumer is set to maximize utility, okay, and that drives us to what we call the budget line. The budget line. So what is the budget line? The budget line is simply a line, okay, that consists of different combinations of two goods that a consumer can afford. Okay, so indifference curves tells you different combinations of two goods that yield the same amount of satisfaction, but doesn't tell you if you can afford it or not. Okay, so that is the usefulness of the budget line. Okay, you consider the money in your pocket, and then you consider the prices of the two goods and see if they are affordable or not, and that is what is going to tell us the exact bundle that a consumer is going to consume. All right, so this is the budget line. It is downward sloping, so we have good x1 here and we have good x2 here, and this is the slope, change in x1 over change in x2. But then the budget line is represented by a function which we call the budget function. So we have it's expressed as this: p1 x1 plus p2 x2 equals m, where this is the price of good x1 and then p2 is the price of good x2, and then m represents real income. Okay, so since the slope is base x2 and this is x1, so since the slope is change in x2 divided by change in x1, so how do we get that from here? We can just say p2 x2 equals m minus p1 x1. So we divide through by p2, okay, p2. So we then have x2 equals m over p2 minus px1 divided by p2. Okay, so we differentiate. Okay, we do change in x2, okay, change in x1. Okay, this is from the basic knowledge of calculus that you have. So there is no x1 here, this becomes 0, but there is x1, so this becomes minus p1 over p2. So this simply means that the slope of the budget line, equals minus the relative prices of the two goods, p1 over p2. Okay, that's about that. So now, when do we say that a consumer is maximizing utility? Okay, a consumer is maximizing utility when his budget line is just tangential to his indifference curve. Okay, so what we have to do is to superimpose this budget line on this curve, which I've already drawn here. So we see the line is tangential at this point, at point B. Okay, at point B to point B to point C. So we just need to calculate the budget line. We just need to calculate the slope of the budget line here. So what I want you guys to understand here is that the slope of the budget line here and the slope of the indifference curve, they are equal. So in essence, we say that the marginal rate of substitution is equal to the ratio of the prices. Okay, so at this particular point, the marginal rate of substitution is equal to the ratio of the prices or relative prices. Okay, when we are talking about something being a line being tangential to a curve, we have something like this. Okay, so this line is tangential to this, and this line is tangential to this. Okay, you may have something like this, and the line here, a straight line here. So this line is tangential to this, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what is our slope here? This is 2, 0. So our slope here is simply our MRS at this point, MRS, which is the same, which is the ratio of the marginal utilities, MRS x1, x2, which is the ratio of the marginal utilities, okay, over mu x2, okay, is going to give us okay, this is the new point now. It's falling from here to here. Here you have 2 minus 4. Then, so we have 2 minus 4 divided by 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2. Okay, so which is equal to, this minus 2, which is equal to minus 2 over 1, which is minus 2. So this simply means that the consumer is willing to give up 1 unit of commodity X1 in order to have 2 units of commodity X2 and vice versa. At this particular position as well, our P1 our P1 over P2 minus 1 over P2 is also going to be 2. Okay, in such a way that P1 over P2 will give us minus 2. Okay, so that is what, because they are already equal, so that is exactly what's going to happen. So we calculate the slope of the budget line as well. It is still 2 minus 4 over 3 minus 2, because they are at the same position. So this is what we have, and that is why there's a general conclusion that a consumer maximizes his or her utility when the ratio of the marginal utility MEX1 divided by MUX2 is equal to the ratio of its relative prices. Okay, so this was where they got this. This is where this condition emanates from. From everything we've been discussing since, okay, we are being led to this point. This could also be expressed in this form: MUX1, the ratio of the marginal utilities per price, okay, of two goods where they are equal over P2, and so on and so forth, to MUXN divided by PN. Okay, so this is the end of today's class. Okay, so make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more, and leave your questions in the comment box. We'd like to attend to them as quickly as possible. See you next time. Thank you for watching.